So guys, welcome back, and in this video we're going to look at in transition instructions and the interpretation of in transition instructions. There's a previous video for in possession instructions, team instructions, and how they work. We're focusing on team instructions here, not just the player instructions, but a quick recap from the previous video. Some of the instructions from for Bomber Ninja 2024, even for Bomber Ninja down to FM 2020 or FM 2019. Most of the instructions are affected by the team mentality. So if you go on to change your mentality, it's going to affect the player and team instructions as a whole. So straight into in transition, then there are a few instructions here. You have instructions for what happens when you lose possession of the ball, and for what happens when you gain possession of the ball, and also what the goalkeeper does when he is in possession of the ball. Now, looking at the in transition phase, the first thing that we're looking at is what you do when your team has lost possession. The counter press is the first one, and it's usually everyone's go-to on Football Manager 2024. But while it's good deep down for some teams, the other regroup instruction is quite good. But what counter press does is that it encourages your team to try and win possession the moment they lose it. So what will happen is when you go on to select counter press, you can see that there are a few arrows here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The front two, and then the central midfielders and the wingers. These players are going to try to apply pressure and win possession when the team has lost it. It is assuming that when you lose possession of the ball, you're losing possession in the opposition's territory. So it's rare for you to the counter press. I don't know if the counter press covers your team losing possession in their own half, because the arrows doesn't show that the back four is going to do anything. So it shows here that the central midfielders and the wingers are going to be the ones that are going to try and force that press for like the first 2 or 3, 7 seconds, I guess. I don't know how many it is in Football Manager, but the moment your team loses possession, these 6 players are going to try to aggressively win it back depending on who is in proximity of the ball, and it's assumed that you're going to lose possession in the final third. So these are the players that are going to be the ones to actually win possession and try to force their way to win that possession back. If they don't win it, they will go on to, okay, let's just read that. Okay, it doesn't specify, but I feel if they don't win it, they're going to go back to their shape anyway and try to defend. But at first, they would try to win possession regardless of whatever happens. The next is the regroup instruction, and what regroup encourages you to do. You can see the top 6. Instead of them moving to try and win that possession as early as they lose possession, they're going to get into their traditional shapes, like a 4-4-2 like this. If they were, there are sometimes you can have an inverted winger here that is in the 4-4-2, so he's going to be somewhere here trying to, cut inside and trying to create a chance. But the moment they actually lose possession and then you have regroup selected, they will try to shift back to their, conventional positions, their starting positions, and try to hold their shape and then defend from there. Now, when the team has one possession, the counter-attacking instruction is encouraging your team to actually look to exploit the space that the oppositioners left behind when they were trying to score. So this is assumed that you are not the team in possession. When you're not the team in possession and then your team goes on to get the ball back, it's also assumed that some of the opposition's players are inside your territory. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players are going to be the one to explode on the counter attack. Now, these 8 players is depending on the roles that I have. Watch what happens when I change Mackenzie Lemon from playing as a fullback on support duty to a fullback on defend, and then I also ask McIntosh to play as a fullback on defend duty. If I go back to the counter now, you can see that I still have only 4 players, no longer 6 players. So the fullbacks that were on support duty no longer take part in the counter attack. I'm just going to take this back to support because I don't have a problem having 6 players. So if you do have it on counter attack, it also means that if your team is high up the pitch, and let's say you have a counter press on and then you're playing with a high press, if your team goes on to win possession in the opposition's territory, they will try to still score as quickly as possible before the opposition gets into shape. That's what counter press says. It encourages your players to immediately go on the attack and seek to take advantage of all the oppositions, all opportunities that is left behind by the opposition's dispossessed opponent. So it's assumed that even if you win possession in the final third, your opposition is out of shape somehow, so you're going to look to counter them and try to score as quickly as possible before they get into shape. Now, for the goalkeeper in possession, the slow pace down instruction kind of helps you when you're defending or when you're trying to control the game. The goalkeeper is going to tend to hold onto the ball longer and look to play short passing, trying to be more conservative, and trying to, quiet the game down and force your team to always be in possession and be in control of the match. But distribute quickly kind of works if you're playing a counter-attacking style of play and then your opposition has tried to come and score, and then your goalkeeper goes on to retain possession, and then you see that the opposition, they've committed a lot of bodies forward. You can actually go on to use the distribute quickly instruction to try and force your goalkeeper to hit the ball long and try to exploit the space left behind by the opponents when they, came out to try and score you. You can also ask your goalkeeper to distribute the ball to a region on the field, or you can also ask them to distribute the ball to a specific player on the field. So I'm going to use position now. You can, let's say I have a target man in number 14. Who's number 14? Austin. Austin is number 14 and he's my target forward. He's like 6'1", but he's quite a good striker as well. So if you go into the goalkeeper and then ask him to distribute to a specific position, you can go on to select number 14, which is Nathan Austin. He is my target forward, so my goalkeeper is going to always tend to distribute the ball to him. There's still the target forward, distribute the ball to a target forward instruction I selected here. That could pick Nathan Austin or somebody else that it's playing. Let's say I have two target forwards, the goalkeeper is actually going to decide which one. Or I have somebody else play as a target forward, it's not going to select Nathan Austin. So what's going to happen is you can choose even the central midfielder to try and distribute the ball to him, and then ask the goalkeeper to maybe throw it long to this guy in this position here. In distributing for areas, the famous one that holds on to possession is asking the goalkeeper to distribute to the fullbacks or to the centre backs, taking short kicks, or you can also ask him to roll it out to those two players. Encouraging your team to try and play out from the back is where you go on to distribute to the centre backs. You can also distribute to the defensive midfielder or the deep line playmaker. That way your team is also sending the ball to the most creative player first, and then they can go on to start attacks and build attacks from there. There is also another goalkeeper instruction in the player instruction that also has a lot to do with transition. You can see that when the goalkeeper has the ball, if you go on to edit the goalkeeper's instructions, you can see you can ask your goalkeeper to play more direct passing. So you have a goalkeeper like Edison and then he has good passing range. Beyond just the team instruction for goalkeeper, you can actually ask your goalkeeper to take more risk and be more direct. Essentially, he's acting as a playmaker that is impossible to mark because the opposition cannot get to him and try to, let's say, tackle him or mark him somehow. So the moment he's in possession, he's going to look to find a killer ball that can actually unlock the opposition's defense. So that's it for this video for in transition. I'm going to go on to make the third video for out of possession instructions. So you can see, to me, that's probably the most important part of tactical instructions. When your team is out of possession, okay, they're all important, but we're going to look at out of possession instructions next. I'll see you in the next video.